So, as I was saying in the previous slides, Crystal and Quirk proposed a system to describe prosodic and paralinguistic features for English in 1964. And then 30 years later, 3 decades later, Poyatos proposed this threefold level of analysis: what we say, how we say it, and how we move it. It's very important to consider intonation, which is the key content of this subject, within this threefold system, not as an isolated feature that you have to study because it's what it says in the syllabus or in the curriculum. How we say things is a broad category, and within this we have primary qualities, such as intonation. So intonation is within the paralanguage or the paraverbal element or aspects of communication. All right. As I told you, in this subject we are going to follow Poyatos' description to insert intonation description within this threefold model. All right. Well, here we're not going to do this because of shortness of time. But for example, if you Google this song by Joaquín Sabina, it's called Nosotros los motivos, you will see that at the beginning of the song he recites a poem. There's no music, there's no image in the video, which is also important. It's just the words, but not just the words, because it's almost impossible to talk and say words without a certain intonation or without a certain paralanguage. All right? So it's a way of producing verbal language mostly, but even if we adopt a very neutral paralanguage, there is still intonation, okay? You cannot speak without intonation. That's what you have to bear in mind. You can speak or transmit a message or communicate without words, but you cannot do that without intonation, okay? That's the relevance of this mega content of this subject. So, as I was telling you, in this song you have this poem recitation at the beginning, and then you have a music, an instrumental chunk or solo. And you know that music without lyrics is pure paralanguage. Okay, classical music is pure paralanguage. It's only melody. Okay, and then when the song proceeds and the lights are turned on, and there is a sort of dramatic effect in the video if you Google it or you look for it in YouTube, for example, and you will see that the singer Joaquín Sabina produces certain kind of body language, all right, plus the lyrics of the song and the melody. So you have an interrelationship of the three aspects of oral communication in this song with a certain progression. Also, but you need to bear in mind again that verbal language by itself cannot exist, okay? You cannot just say words. The moment you utter a word, you are uttering it with a certain volume, a certain length, and a certain tone, okay? And these are the key acoustic features of intonation, okay? So you cannot speak without intonation, but you can speak or communicate without words. So, having said this, there follows a very thorough description of paralanguage according to Poyatos. I'm not going to go through all this, but you can read. It's fairly easy to identify the description, because it's in Spanish. This author produced mostly in Spanish, some things in English. You have some examples here, but we are not going to see them. Just have a look at this, at the various components of Paralanguage, but mostly pay attention to the cualidades primarias, or primary qualities, because within this we have intonation, which is our main concern. The rest you can read so that you know and you get acquainted with all the things that we can do with our vocal folds, which are not words. For example, when you yawn or when you sneeze, you are producing sounds, you are communicating something, but it's not with words. So it's very relevant that you pay attention to paralanguage or paraverbal side of language, okay? There is also a description of crystalline quirk, but you know that this is a subsidiary theory that we are not following in this subject, but you can see certain parallelisms between this model and Poyato's model. All right, we'll skip that for the time being, this one, because it's a bit abstract for the time being. I would like to show you this gradient going from verbal language to kinesics. The image is not very good, but you will have the PDF file of Unit 1 supplementary material available to you. This is a continuum, okay, going from what we say to how we move it. And in between we have paralanguage. Paralanguage, as I told you, is our main concern, and within paralanguage we have intonation, okay? Verbal language is words, as I told you, but then in second year you studied in phonetics 2 accent and rhythm. These are primary qualities of language, and they belong to prosody, all right? Or suprasegmentals, you've also seen them, and they are more linguistic. What does it mean that they are more linguistic? That they're more systematic, that there is a system, a linguistic system that organizes the distribution of accents, as you studied in phonetics 2, or there is a system that describes how rhythm is organized in English as a stress time language, all right? And this year we'll see that intonation also can be described within a system in English. And for this we follow an author that made most of his contributions in the University of Birmingham. I'm talking about David Brazil. He passed away, but most of his production was done in the 1980s, okay? If we continue towards more kinesic features, we have paralinguistic features, which are less linguistic, meaning that they are less systematic. For example, if you yawn or if you laugh, there is not a system that can describe or account for these choices that speakers make as communication progresses, okay? But these features, accent, rhythm, and intonation, are systematic, are linguistic, and that's why we studied them. We studied their form and their function, all right? As we will see in the following slides. But before we go on with definitions of intonation, and because this is a trial version of the software I'm using for recording these videos, and I only have 15 minutes and it's already 9 minutes and something, I would like to pay attention to this because you will have some homework to do based on these slides. The combinations of verbal language with paralanguage and kinesics. All right? Sometimes you can try to speak without, just with verbal language, as I told you in the song by Joaquin Sabina. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult to just produce words with no intonation. Actually, when your vocal folds vibrate, they vibrate with a certain height, and with a certain length, and with a certain loudness. So, as I told you, it's very rare to have only pure verbal language. You can have a combination of verbal and paralanguage. For example, what I'm saying now, I'm using words, but I'm also using intonation, and I'm trying to use direct orientation. That's also a key concept that we will see in Unit 1, but not this week, in the upcoming weeks. You can have verbal language and kinesics. For example, if we are teaching and we want to explain to our students what is swimming, and I go like this and I show the students what you do when you swim, I'm combining verbal and kinesics, right? Well, I'm not going to go through all this, but you can read them, all the possible combinations. But for homework, I will be assigning your search for videos that illustrate one or two of these possible combinations, or kinesics, pure kinesics. For example, mimes, los mimos. Mimes are pure kinesics, okay, because they don't even use music. It's only body language. So look for examples of this, and you can upload the links on the Facebook group wall, okay? In el muro de Facebook, you can put examples, and you provide a brief explanation saying, I believe this is a combination of this and that, and then we can well, comment on that or argue if we don't agree. All right, there's a video by Obama. If you look for it with these keywords, you can do this exercise, and well, we can talk about that in the following classes. All right, and that's it for today. Unit 1 Part B will be for the next week, the last week of March. The lesson of March the 30th will start with Unit 1 Part B. All right. So remember, for homework, this is optional. Obama thing is optional, but if you want to comment on that, you are very much welcome. You can post the link, or I can, well, whatever. If you want, you can post the link and comment on this, okay? Not all of you, some of you. The thing is that as we are not in a live lesson, I cannot say, okay, what do you think? So if there is a volunteer that wants to look for this video and comment on this and the combinations of verbal, paralanguage and kinesics, you are most welcome. You know that in this subject, things are not compulsory. I always look for volunteers, not you have to do this, okay? So if anyone is interested in analyzing Obama's threefold reality of oral communication, you are most welcome. The rest of you, I encourage everyone to look for at least one video and post it on the wall of our group and explain what combinations of verbal, paralanguage and kinesics you portray in that video. If it's not a combination and it's only paralanguage, for example, it's only music, classical music with no lyrics, it's only paralanguage. If it is a dancer that is dancing without music, it's only kinesics, okay? So remember that the most rare thing is to have pure verbal language, because it's almost impossible to speak without a certain intonation. So that's it for this video too. um,